Welcome to the Nightly Rant
with
your hosts, Mike
and Torya.
This is the show where we examine society from a sarcastic point of view.
If you like insane conversations, this is definitely the show for you.
Let's get into today's topic. YPN people, I don't know about you, but I love helping out a friend. That's why I want to shout out my friend Brian Little and his podcast, Your Favorite Blockhead. This is the only show that manages to weave together peanuts and MMA into one heck of an amazing podcast. You can find Your Favorite Blockhead wherever your favorite podcasts reside and at yourfavoriteblockhead.com. Do me a huge favor and listen to Brian's show. You'll be entertained and you'll help out a friend. Now, as I said, let's get into today's topic. Get away from me with your stinky hands.
Don't tell me I have stinky hands.
Your hands are the stinkiest.
I only have one stinky hand, thank you very much. And it's from prying a wad of cat poo out of some whiny little half-wiener's mouth.
Are you talking about the beans?
I am. He's the only half-wiener in the house.
Well, this is true because we have a no wiener, we have a full wiener, and we have a half wiener.
Yeah.
No wiener, full wiener, half wiener.
Yeah.
Poor Beans. He's a half wiener.
Yes.
Poor Yogi, he's a no wiener.
Yogi likes being a no-wiener.
Anyway, that's kind of gross.
You know what? I thought it was a fucking chicken bone.
Yeah, we don't need to deal with that.
Or I wouldn't have pried it out of his mouth.
Yeah.
If I knew if it was poo, he could have just eaten it. I don't even give a shit.
Talking about not giving a shit.
Oh, yeah? What do you not give a shit about?
After, 2 years of investigations, the Mueller Report was finally released.
Dun, dun,
And
dun.
as expected, they found no collusion, and they did not make a determination on obstruction of justice. The Justice Department was left to make that decision, and they decided there was not enough evidence of obstruction of justice to prosecute, so they declined. All right. Now,
how excited are you about this?
None of that even matters to me. I don't even care about any of that because, the report needed to be done. The questions needed to be answered. I'm just not sure it needed to be done with this much money and take this much time. But hey, whatever. Okay. Now, remember, this is a guy, Mueller, who Democrats said was, a top-notch investigator, and he'll find the collusion, because it's definitely there, and he's gonna find it.
Definitely there. Dun,
and then
dun.
Now they're all saying, his office was compromised. You know why? Because the report didn't come out the way they wanted it to come out.
Well, that's how it always goes.
How fucking stupid do you have to be to act that way and then try to claim that you're a reasonable human? Because no fucking reasonable human could possibly hold to both standards. No fucking way.
Let's be real. The people that you're talking about who are pissed and saying that there was problems in his office, if Obama tomorrow decided he was a Republican and he was pro-wall, they would disown him and say they never liked him.
You're right. They remind me, sorry cousins back east, but they remind me of Boston sports fans. Boston has Johnny Damon playing for the Red Sox. Johnny Damon is a god. He is the best baseball player ever. He is a god. We love him. We worship him. Johnny Damon gets traded to the New York Yankees. Johnny Damon is a bum. He sucked. We never liked him in the first place. He thought he was all that, but he sucked. That's Boston sports fans. Well, it's the same thing with Americans in politics. They gotta, suddenly you change teams, then you suck. But when you're on their team, you were the greatest thing since sliced bread.
You dang Americans.
It's just ridiculous. But my point here is, people are trying to act like they're all reasonable and saying what a great investigator he is. And then when the report doesn't come out the way they want, they try to still act like they're being unbiased. But they're clearly acting biased. It's like, okay, say I'm standing at a spot on the racetrack and I'm told by the rules that I'm not supposed to tell anybody which direction to run. They're supposed to figure it out. It's part of the race.
Okay.
And here comes some kid from the other school. Which way do I go, sir? Which way to go? I'm sorry, rules don't let me tell you. He runs away. Then here comes Mitchell. Which way do I go, Dad? You go this way. Is that really ethical? Oh, I didn't tell the other kid. I only told my kid. Yeah, exactly. That's unethical.
That's what makes it unethical.
You weren't supposed to tell anybody anything.
You either tell everybody the same thing or you tell nobody nothing.
Right. You just keep your mouth shut if it's what you're supposed to do. And quite honestly, I'm going to even go on record and say this. Sometimes there are rules that if you break those rules, you are not unethical.
Truth.
And you know why I say that? Because there are rules that are completely dead wrong to my ideology that I could not follow. So guess what? If they told me you're not allowed to tell anyone else the direction to go, you just say I'm not allowed to tell. Well, if you don't think that's right for whatever moral reason and you have a good standing, go ahead and tell people. But tell everybody. Don't just tell some.
Yeah, I agree.
It's kind of an all or nothing proposition. So don't fucking tell me that you think he's this great investigator and then tell me that his office was compromised. Don't tell me how professionally run his investigation is, and then when the report doesn't go the way you want, tell me how his office was compromised.
Yeah, I hear you.
And ask yourself a question. They're all starting in on this Electoral College issue. Why do you think they want to make a change to that? Do you think making a change for that, in their opinion, is going to help the Republicans?
Fuck no.
No. They think it's going to help them.
And in the past election, it would have.
But
in most elections, it wouldn't have.
But if it's going to help them, of course they're going to vote for it.
You made me look it up on election night. When not on election night, but shortly after. Because you told me I could find the information if I Googled. Because you're you. Anyway, how many times the popular vote has been the opposite direction of the actual winning president?
It's only been once before or twice before that I know.
It was twice. Now it's happened 3 total times.
Yeah, in all history.
And I think it would have benefited the Republicans once and the Democrats twice.
But here it is that they're going to argue about it like it's the worst system in the world.
Yet when it elected Obama, they were completely happy with it.
Exactly.
So they should just can it. Shut the fuck up and stop being a hypocrite.
And that's the inconsistency, just like the other issue.
Yes, I find people who are very vocal about their political party on the internet are very inconsistent. I'm not going to say I think Republicans are inconsistent, and I'm not going to say I think Democrats are inconsistent.
No, I agree with you. It's the people who, it's kind of like the joke about the CrossFitter and the vegan, they tell you.
Right.
Well, when someone is more Republican than politically aware, they like to tell you how Republican they are and how proud they are to be a Republican. And the same thing with Democrats.
Right.
They like to tell you how proud they are to be Democrats, and I'm a Democrat. And generally speaking, when you talk to those people, they don't even know what the heck they're supposed to believe, because that's the problem. They're following a system that they think they're supposed to believe.
You could print them an entire brochure full of lies about what the Democrat Party believes and hand it to them with the Democrat Party logo on it. Okay, so you could hand them a pamphlet full of lies with the Democrat Party logo on it, and they would just believe it. Those are the people who I think are the problem, because they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. They don't know what they believe. They've just decided that Democrats are less racist, so they're going to side with everything they have to say. And there's Republican people on the same side. They think there shouldn't be any immigrants or abortion, so they've decided they're Republicans and not giving a shit about anything else what the party actually believes.
Well, in the last election, they proved that. They did this thing where the person was completely ranting about how crappy Trump is and how they love Hillary. And so then they said, okay, tell us how you feel about this statement. Blah, 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 blah. Well, who said that? Donald Trump. I think that's ridiculous. There's no way that would work. Da, 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 da. Well, what would you say if I told you? And then they went through the whole thing. And they said, at the end of 4 or 5 questions, what would you say if I told you that all those questions I told you were said by Donald Trump? They were actually from Hillary Clinton. What? Well, yeah,
Yeah.
they are. They're from Hillary Clinton. Yeah, so when they thought it was Donald Trump, they hated every single thing. But when they thought it was when they would think it was Hillary Clinton, they loved it. And they did it both ways. They did it where they attributed Donald Trump comments to Hillary.
Uh-huh.
And her supporters loved it.
Yep. This right here is why I'm politically agnostic.
But you're not really, and good listeners to the show know this for fact that you're not. So don't even try
every
that.
single time I've voted for a different party.
That doesn't make you politically agnostic.
I vote for whoever doesn't act like an idiot.
But you can't, I don't even think it's possible to be politically agnostic. You know why? Because there is no higher power in politics that you worship, but everybody has their
super fucking
well,
technical.
hey, it's me. Sorry. Too bad for you. Good for the listener.
Uh-huh.
But your ideology is your ideology. So you can't be politically agnostic. You have an ideology.
Well, when there's only two parties and you agree with neither of them.
But there aren't only two parties. There's literally 100 parties. Some of them might only have 15 members.
Try telling that to 10 people and see how many of them agree with you.
Well, who cares?
Dummies.
That's part of the problem. Part of the problem is that people think there's just two parties.
Haha, made you rant.
That's part of the problem. You're the reason I'm ranting.
Exactly. That's why I said
because you're a giant pain in my political butt. Eye roll. Yeah, your eye roll doesn't matter to us. Yogi and I don't care about your eye roll. Mm-hmm. All we care about is our listeners.
Okie dokie.
The listeners are number one, always and forever. That was Yogi's edict at the meeting that you missed today.
Okie dokie.
He didn't care that you were busy. He wanted a meeting, so we had a meeting in our sleep, telepathically.
Next time, I won't care that he doesn't have food, because I'll be busy.
He says that now that the midgets are responsible, he will eat at least half the time.
That's not what I meant, but never mind.
Nah. Hey, it's his way out. What can I say? So here's the thing.
I'm going to push him off the couch now.
So here's the thing. What really pisses me off is that the Democrats put all their faith in Mueller.
Uh-huh.
The Republicans are still stupid because, hell, my opinion, and I know this is judgmental, look at how many close associates of his. Now, I'm not going to be the dumbass that says, oh, they got indicted. See, that proves that he committed crimes. No. They got indicted for like business things. I'm going to tell you right here and now. Mark Zuckerberg, Warren Buffett, what's his name? Bill Gates. I bet you if they investigated them as closely as they investigated these gentlemen, they would also be indicted of crimes against the country. Because you don't think all of them negotiated some wonky deals with countries that had sanctions against them at the time?
Of course
they have. Because that's how they do business. They take risks. But in this case, they're going to throw these people in jail for it. So, okay, fine. But that has nothing to do.
That's the risk they took.
Right. And it has nothing to do with what the investigation was really about. That's just collateral damage.
So, let's be real. The moral of the story is Donald Trump has poor French choices.
He makes bad, and that's what bothers me. He clearly makes bad choices. Because, let's face it, what do I always say about it? What do I always say about Alyssa? That I'm super proud of who she's becoming because she makes good choices. She would even forego something super fun to do a school project that she knew she had to spend that night doing or it wouldn't get done. She's that person.
Right.
And she picks the right friends. Well, okay. We know how many bankruptcies the dude's been through. Multiple. We know that he's been sued so many times by small contractors because he never paid them.
Right.
I mean, we have a customer who's sort of like Donald Trump in that respect that we won't mention by name, but we have that issue being handled. So he's been sued all those times. And then he surrounded himself with people who were doing illegal business dealings.
Yeah.
So I have to feel like, you know what? Who knows? Maybe he was a little smarter than them in that respect, and he didn't leave evidence behind of doing those awful things.
Well, maybe he was using them to learn from because he could see all their mistakes.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's funny you say that because that's one of the things I just read in the memos is you have to have people that you think of as mentors because you can't, if all you're learning from is your own mistakes, you're never going to learn.
Well, you'd learn, just not as fast. I think you'd still learn.
Maybe not. But point being, he makes bad choices. He surrounds himself with bad people. I don't doubt that there's something there. So what do the Democrats say? Oh, there's collusion. We're going to find it. And they're going to continue to investigate.
Well, they're idiots. I'm sorry, but...
So the guy that they said was top notch would definitely, if there's something there, he'll find it 2 years later because it didn't come out the way they wanted. And unfortunately for them, the timing, remember what I told you, American political cycle is basically from January of the year before the election until the election. So we're in the presidential political cycle.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
And you can see people announcing for president and all that stuff. But the point is, this is a huge defeat for them because it fires up the people who stood by his side.
But it's the same shit. If the people who are anti-Donald Trump would focus on something positive, as in they think this candidate would be great for the country, rather than focusing on why the Trump man is crap, then maybe they'd accomplish something. But they won't. They'll just continue to attack him and say that he's crap, and they'll accomplish nothing, and he'll get reelected. Enjoy.
Okay. From your knowledge, maybe you don't know, and if you don't, you can say. But I'd rather have you say it than me say it. So, what percentage of Americans do you think identify as a Democrat? Approximately.
25.
You think it's only 25%?
I think it's probably about 25% Democrat, 25% Republican, and 50% that don't want you to know how they feel.
Apparently, 56% of Americans still believe that Trump and his campaign colluded with Russia, despite the fact that the man who interviewed 500 people concluded that they did not.
Okay. And who put that statistic out?
It's a CNN poll. No surprise. 56%.
I'm sorry, but if 56% of their respondents said they still believe that he colluded, there's no way that half of the respondents, there's no way that a reasonable number of the respondents were Republican.
Well, exactly. You want to get a result like that? You skew it. 7 out of 10 go to one direction.
Yeah.
Then you're guaranteed to have at least 51% in your favor, and that makes you guaranteed to win. I mean, it just is what it is. But it's kind of indicative of the society we're in. It's like I've said to you before, Jesus Christ could be here in front of somebody and say, I'm God. And then they say, sure you are. Raise that dead person over there that died 6 years ago. And they raise them from the dead right before their eyes. And they'd be like, nah, that didn't happen.
Cool party trick. I'm out.
That didn't happen. Like they would deny that it happened. And here's the thing. Those are the very same people who go batshit crazy when Trump makes up facts.
Of course.
Aren't they kind of doing the same thing?
But they're not president.
See, if there's collusion, Robert Mueller will find it. He is the man when it comes to that. He will find it. Fast forward 2 years, he comes back with there was no collusion. Oh, there's collusion there for sure. Well, wait a second. You told us 2 years ago that Mueller would find it if it was there, and he didn't find it. So then by definition of what you said, mustn't be there. Mustn't exist. Because he would find it if it did.
If it exists, he will find it.
He will find it. And he didn't find it. So it mustn't exist. So you're going to continue to investigate and claim that it does exist? That's making up facts, bro. That's spinning a story for your own behavior.
Yeah, well, people are idiots. What can we say?
But that's why they do. That's why winning at the midterms in a big way is important for a party like that. Because then they have the votes necessary to pass whatever they want. And they can do dirty tricks. And it goes both ways. Don't get me wrong. Right now, it's just the Democrats that are in focus because they're the ones playing the dirty tricks. But the Republicans do the same thing. It's disgusting.
Right.
And like, I recently had a conversation on a board that was mostly dominated by Democrats. And I was telling them how unbiased I am. And they're like, you're not unbiased. Everybody has a bias and blah, 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 blah. Well, sure, everybody has their own bias. But when I say I'm unbiased, guess what? If a libertarian said something that was stupid, I'd say they said something stupid. You've heard me say it. If a Republican says something stupid, I'm going to say so. If a Democrat says something stupid, I'm going to say so. I don't care if you say something stupid. I don't care what party you belong to. I'm going to say that it's stupid. Because I'm not biased. I don't care what your party is. I care about my beliefs. That's what I care about. And I'll be honest, that sounds selfish, but
why should you care about anybody else?
We have talked about our beliefs and how we meld them together as a family.
Right.
And we kind of operate this family unit in that manner.
Right.
Well, when I hear political things, I take our realm that we've created with this family and I compare what's going to happen to it if this happens. What's going to happen to it if this happens? And I am only for things that are beneficial to our family unit.
And that's 100% reasonable.
Well, sure it is, because everybody should be that way. And if everybody was that way, here's what would happen. You get the city council ballot, and there's 2 people that are running. You're gonna, if you go, let's say the 66 people in our building are the only people voting. And you go through, and if each one makes a decision who would be best for their family in their mind, that's the person who's going to win.
Right. Well, I tell you what, if everybody had voted for who was going to do the best things for them and their family in the primaries and the election, neither Donald Trump nor Hillary Clinton
would have even been the nominees. You're right.
Because they're both self-absorbed morons.
No, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right.
I have no idea who it would have been, but it would have been neither. And I don't think it would have been Bernie either.
But that's why you have to vote for the person. That's why I like that isidewith.org.
Yeah.
That place is great because the whole point is you're finding who you're the closest match to ideologically, and that's who you should vote for.
So maybe they should change how voting works. And they should have everybody at the polling station fill out the I side with thing.
I've said that before.
Vote accordingly.
I've said that before.
You fill out the quiz, and it doesn't even tell you who you voted for.
Yeah, I've said
Just
that before.
fill out the quiz.
I've said that before.
Yeah. No campaigning needed.
No.
All candidates fill out the form themselves with what they believe, and then everybody goes and fills out the same thing with what they believe, and the person who matches with the most people wins.
Yeah, you get 83% match with candidate A.
Your vote goes to candidate A.
Then your vote goes to candidate A.
Right.
And in the end, somebody's going to have more votes. Guess what? That's a totally unbiased way to vote because you're not voting based on what a party thinks or believes. It's purely a calculation.
Well, and you're not voting based on who had the better smear campaign on TV. And you're not voting based on who spent millions of dollars to come to your area.
Well, right. It's why they decided in California years ago that when a divorce happens and there's children, that child support is just strictly going to be a formula.
Right.
There's no, and then the reason I think that's perfect is that the mom and the dad cannot be angry about the amount of money they have to pay or they receive over how much or how little it is, because it's strictly a formula. No emotions attached. There's no editorial on your abilities as a parent. There's no editorial on your abilities as a human being. There's no editorials about you at all. It's strictly numbers in, numbers out. That's it.
Do you want to know what they would do if they really wanted to be accurate? Say you side 94% with candidate A, 3% with candidate B, and then the remainder is split between the other 4 candidates. They would give 94% of a vote to candidate A.
They give 0.97 to A and 03 to
And then split
B.
whatever it is with the rest of them. And then the candidate with the most would be president, and the candidate with the second most would be vice president.
Yep.
That's how you would best represent the country.
Well, sure.
And my guess is you'd very often end up with a president and vice president that didn't agree on things. But if they could work together like adults, they would get a lot of shit done.
You know, the reason that Bush got elected, and I think it was Bush, second Bush, not the first Bush. Second Bush got elected was because when he was governor of Texas, he had a reputation of being able to work with
both sides,
any party.
Right.
And he worked, here's an idea I have. I think it's a good one, and here's why I think it's a good one. Here's how it's going to benefit people. But see, I think it's a little too expensive over here, so we need to work together, figure out how to bring the cost down on that.
Didn't he do the same thing when he was president?
Yes. We need to work together, bring the cost down on that. And then, over here, I see some weaknesses. Here's one and here's one. We're going to need to work together to strengthen those. Otherwise, this whole thing's not going to work. See the point? He doesn't just present them a package and say, here's my idea. He comes to them with a framework. Here's my idea, but it's got some problems. Let me show you the problems. Now let's work together to fix the problems. Now you're collaborating on the issue. So now you get people to go, oh, I know how we can plug that hole. We'll do this. Well, you just got them emotionally invested in your project. So now your project's going to probably pass.
Yeah.
Because you're a leader. That's how a leader operates.
Yeah. That dude gets a bad rap because of all the shit that went down when he was president.
Yep. And I'm sure, he probably did some shady things too. I don't think any president is immune from that. When you go into office with next to nothing and you come out a multi-millionaire, yeah, tell me what happened there,
Yep.
They don't get paid that much money.
They pay like 200 and some thousand a year.
Yeah, it's not a lot of money.
But all their living expenses don't come out of that. All
right, it's all there.
Covered.
But still. So after 4 years, you should have $1 million. After 8 years, you should have $2 million. If you never spent a penny of your own money, how do you come out being worth, $43 million? Those are
savvy investments.
I want to know what investments you're putting your money in because I want to do the same.
Oh, anyway, we've sufficiently digressed.
I don't think we have. I think it's all related to the same damn topic. American people being stupid in the way they make their decisions. And you basically said that the perfect solution, and I have to agree with you, is to take the decision out of their hands and just strictly make it a calculation.
Well, no, you wouldn't be taking the decision out of their hands, though. You'd be putting an accurate decision in their hands without media bias and money being influenced.
Well, it's true because I would be voting for the person I'm most aligned with.
Right, you'd be voting for your beliefs.
And not the person that my neighbors tell me I should vote for.
And if your beliefs change every 4 years, who you vote for will accurately change with that.
Right. I think that's
more sense.
I think that's an accurate way to do it. I do. The problem is it requires a computer, and computers can be hacked, and here we go.
They should just let the Russians handle it.
Well, they tried to handle it last time, but they couldn't get that far.
Anyway.
So, Yogi's dead to the world.
Me too.
As usual. You're not dead to the world. You've been fucking talking for the last 147,000 seconds.
Also, Miss Olive is sleeping sitting up.
Aw, Miss Olive.
She's all offended because she got cornered by the beans earlier.
Oh, beans. Well, you know what they say, right?
What?
It's a word. It's the G word.
The G word? I know 0 curse words that start with a G, but good night, everyone.
Hasta la bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the Nightly Rant.
If you enjoyed the show, please give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or Google Play.
If you didn't enjoy the show, please just ignore that previous request for a rating.
This has been a Yogi's Podcast Network production.